everyone. I'm Liz Archuleta, and I'm the Arizona spokesperson for HECHO, Hispanics Enjoying Camping, Hunting, and the Outdoors. And I want to welcome you to today's presentation, the HECHO Advocacy Training Series, which today we're focusing on letters to the editor. And we have a great team of folks from HECHO assembled today, which I'd like to go around the room and make sure that they get introduced. First of all, Camilla Simon, HECHO's Executive Director. Camilla.
Hi, everybody. This is great. I'm so glad that you guys can all join us today. We have, I think, a fun, a fun training today, and a fun advocacy training. Thank you, Liz.
Great. And I'd like to introduce Amy Dominguez, who's HECHO's Communications Coordinator.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Amy Dominguez. I'm HECHO's Communications Coordinator. I'm excited to get started and learn about letters to the editor with everyone.
Thanks, Amy. And we want to introduce the newest member of our team, Bianca McGrath. And Bianca, can you say hello? She's our Program Manager.
Yep. Hi, my name is Bianca McGrath Martinez, and like Liz said, I'm the new Program Manager, and this is my first event with HECHO, so I'm super excited to be here.
Great. Well, we have people joining us this evening for the hour that we're going to spend together from Arizona, Utah, Virginia, Colorado, and California. And so why don't we go around the room and have each person introduce themselves and the city or state that they're in. That would be super. And so we'll spotlight each person. You can see that I'm spotlighted right now, but we'll spotlight each person if you would introduce yourself and where you're located.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael in New York City, but soon to be in California.
Great. Hi, Michael. Juliana and Teresa, our sisters, say hello.
Hello, I'm Teresa Guareña, and I'm coming in from Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Juliana Guareña, and I'm here with Teresa in Phoenix, Arizona.
Great. Let's see, one of our members from the Arizona Wildlife Federation.
Hey there, my name is Michael Cravens. Forgive the kid noises in the background. I'm the Advocacy and Communications Coordinator for the Arizona Wildlife Federation. I'm happy to be here.
Great.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm the Outreach Director for Arizona Wildlife Federation, and I'm in Phoenix.
Thanks, Nikki. Frank.
I have to unmute myself over here. That would be a fun presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Frank Moraga. I'm the, what am I doing? Editor, publisher of AmigosNAZ, an online publication for the Latino community in Northern Arizona. I also do a similar operation in California, Amigos 805. And I'm a member of the Coconino Hispanic Advisory Council. And my background is newspaper journalist in Southern California at a variety of newspapers. So, hello, everyone.
And we're going to hear from Frank a little bit later on, too. He's one of our panelists. Thanks, Frank. Viviana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Viviana Reyes. I am in Flagstaff, Arizona right now, and I am an HECHO Advisory Board member, and I also work for Coconino County, and it's great to be here.
Great. Thanks, Viviana.
Hey, I think that, oh, here we go. I think that we have everybody who we can get on video. Liz.
Okay, I saw Elvia a little bit earlier, but we're going to be seeing her in just a few moments too. She's one of our panelists, so we can introduce her then. Well, super. Well, again, thanks everyone. So tonight's plan is that we wanted to let you know a little bit about HECHO. HECHO advocates on a number of issues and is a platform for Hispanics to be heard. And today we're going to focus on how to advocate for an issue by writing a letter to the editor. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. And an exciting part of this evening's workshop is our portion where we ask a professional. We'll hear from 2 guest speakers with print and multimedia experience and expertise. They're going to share with us some strategies on how to effectively communicate our point of view by writing a compelling letter to the editor. So our thanks to you for joining us this evening. Once you complete the 2-part training series, you're going to receive a certificate from us saying that you completed the HECHO training series. And then when you do the 5 advocacy actions, you'll get an HECHO t-shirt sent to you. So just a reminder about the 5 advocacy actions. One was share your story. And we did that around stories at the Grand Canyon, people's first experience in going to the Grand Canyon. We asked you to use social media for advocacy. We asked you to join the HECHO Digital Advocacy Network so that you could stay informed. And now today we're going to ask you to complete the final 2 tasks, and that is respond to an action alert as part of the Digital Advocacy Network and write a letter to the editor. So that's why we want to get into right away with just what is a letter to the editor and why does HECHO use letters to the editor. Camilla?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Liz. So Liz described this as part 2 of our advocacy training series. And in the first part, we covered all the basic information about advocacy, like what is advocacy, why we advocate, and also we learned about a few types of advocacy actions or tools that are available to us in our advocacy toolbox. So as you'll see up here on the screen, some of the tools that we mentioned were calling or writing your representative, using your social media to educate and engage decision makers. And we really focused last time on sharing your story to help decision makers understand the implications of their decisions. We have part 1 of the series on our blog, so you can go and watch it and listen to it if you missed it or read the recap. But today, since we're spending time learning specifically about letters to the editor, we would like to do a quick poll about your all's experience with LTEs. So we're gonna post this poll and you'll see it up on your screen. And if you could answer, have you ever written an LTE? There's 3 responses. Yes, I've written an LTE. No, I haven't written an LTE, but I've thought about it. And then the 3rd one, no, I haven't written an LTE because it seems hard and time consuming. So select your answer and we'll keep this up for a few more seconds. Get a couple more responses in. And then, okay, let's see. Okay, so, all right, well, we have 1 person who's written one before, that's great. And 2 people who've thought about it who haven't yet. And then 1 who hasn't because it seems hard and time consuming. So, okay, that's really helpful information. I hope that this training at least encourages you to write one and also helps you understand how easy it is to do. That is one of our goals. So we'll just get rid of that poll. So we at HECHO, we use LTEs as an advocacy tool because it's a core part of how HECHO is working toward our mission. So since strengthening Hispanic voices and visibility in public land decision-making and advocacy is a priority for HECHO, our goal for this training is not only to share this information about how to write an LTE, but we really want to inspire you and support you as well in starting to write about issues that you care about in the many media outlets that accept LTEs. We do believe that decision makers should hear from us in many different ways, and that this is another additional way that they can hear from us. And as well, the public should also learn about issues from multiple perspectives. And so community members' viewpoints are really vital. We also believe that engaging in public conversations with your perspective is indeed an act of leadership. It takes courage to speak your mind, and it's an important act of civic engagement. So we do really want to help support and encourage Latino community members to express their point of view and build the presence of Latino leadership in our public spaces. We also believe in empowering and supporting people to advocate through letters to the editor in a coordinated and organized fashion. So that's another reason why we're doing the training and why we want to train an advocacy network to be able to write and then deploy LTEs in a coordinated fashion about important public land conservation issues, a lot of the times that go under the radar and need some attention. And then finally, we at HECHO, we believe that writing a letter to the editor is something that everyone can do, and we are really happy to help you do it, and we want you to be successful. Now, Bianca will talk a little more about why we believe LTEs are something everyone can do in the next slide.
Thank you, Camilla. So we really want to emphasize that, just like Camilla said, that out of all the advocacy tools that you have as an individual, writing an LTE is simple and can be done by each and every one of you. So LTEs have a very basic structure, which make it really achievable when it comes to something that you are passionate about. So LTEs typically require between 150 to 300 words. It requires your own opinions and perspectives on one or two topics that are relevant to you or that have an effect on you or your community. And it's something that you are showing opposition or support for. So if you think about it, we're doing this on social media all the time or with conversations with friends and family. So I also want to stress the impact that LTEs have. If you strategically choose a publication with a specific type of audience or size of audience, or use someone's name in an LTE, you will bring attention to your message. So decision makers and elected officials will see them, and if you are not capturing the attention of someone specific, you're bringing attention to an issue and educating the general public on that issue and what it means to you. So you are able to bring a unique perspective with your message, and you're keeping attention on an issue that's important to you. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Liz, who's going to lead the Ask a Professional section of our event and introduce our guests.
Liz, I think you're on
Thanks.
mute.
It's so great. Thanks, Bianca. I really appreciate it. And I was just saying how wonderful it is for me to be able to introduce our two experts this evening. I've worked with both of these professionals in the past, and I am just really happy that they agreed to spend some time with us, and I consider both of them friends. And so I want to introduce first Elvia Diaz, who is the Arizona Republic columnist and editorial board member. And the Arizona Republic is the state newspaper, the largest circulated newspaper in the state of Arizona. And then you met Frank a little bit earlier, Frank Moraga, who is a journalist, editor, and publisher of Amigos Northern Arizona, and then the Amigos in California. And so really appreciate your time. Elvia, great to see you. Really happy to see both of you. So let's start with Elvia, and I will open this up to questions from our participants as soon as we get through some of the questions that we have for our experts here. So this is for both of you. We'll start with Elvia first. So Elvia, what makes a letter to the editor compelling? What piques your interest in a letter to the editor?
Well, thank you so much, Liz. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, perfect. No, thank you so much, and for having me here. It is such a wonderful, time to see you and see your face. So yeah, with the Arizona Republic, I'm, as you mentioned, I'm a columnist and I'm an editorial board member, and I'm also in charge of the weekend pages of the paper, meaning I actually edit and, talk to people and get columns and what have you. So what makes a letter to the editor compelling? I think the summary that someone had earlier was excellent. You are making a point. You're keeping it short. If it is topical, the better, meaning if it is in the news, it helps. You know, I can tell you that today, for instance, we published 2 or 3 letters, actually 2, on monuments. So they're like a pro and con. So clearly we're talking about topical issues here. And it also has to be complete, right? We usually get, what, 250 to 300 letters to the editor per week. So it's really hard to go through all of them. So from the get-go, it has to be compelling. It has to have 1 point. I prefer 1 point instead of 2. You know, someone mentioned that. And really short and sweet.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And Frank, from your point of view, what makes an LTE compelling?
I come from a background of community newspapers, so much smaller than the Arizona Republic. So what we try to go ahead and do, we have like a smaller audience, smaller amount of letters to the editor. So there's a better opportunity of meeting your editors, emailing them, getting them to respond back. And so that's definitely one thing you want to go ahead and do. Try to establish that personal relationship that you can go ahead and have with them. Just understand, like all journalists, like everyone else, all the industries are shrinking. People are doing more with less. So your journalists are busy, so they might not be able to get back to you real quick. But try to go ahead and, for community journalists, we're looking for great local stories. Be sure to read all the letters to the editors that have been coming into the local publications, and then seeing if you're duplicating their efforts. If you're getting like 10 different letters to the editor and you're basically duplicating someone else, chances are they're not going to go ahead and keep running those kind of topics and stuff. So kind of watch out for what your market is, see what's coming over there. And then the same thing, that obviously go ahead and be concise. Go ahead and pick one topic, short and sweet, to the point. If you can personalize it, personalize it. Go ahead and talk about yourself, your family, how this affects your neighborhood, your community, your county. So those are the main things that we're kind of looking for.
Great. Well, that's good. You covered a lot of ground there. Elvia, the next couple of questions are for you, and you touched on this. It was, how many LTEs do you receive in a week? And then how many do you publish per day? Give us an idea.
Yeah, like between 250 to 300 per week. And then we published between 4 and 5, sometimes 6, depending on the length. So, and sometimes it's about one topic if it is huge, but usually we have different topics, and normally if it is topical, people also use that opportunity to respond to what we write personally, not just a topic. So they could be responding to my column, to a colleague, or what have you. So that's usually the amount that we get. So keep in mind that we're only, by we meaning the Arizona Republic, we're only publishing in print. So we decided that we're not going to publish those letters to the editor online, which to me that's really, really important, because if you're expecting us to, share a link with you, you're not going to have it. So print is a different audience. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Okay, great. And the next one, you've talked a little bit about this. And so you talked that the letters to the editor are usually sometimes about a topic or what a columnist will write. And so do you think most of the letters to the editor are about that, or are they about some random topic?
Oh, sometimes they're random topics. Clearly most people are reacting to something that is happening in the news. And we get that. So, and to attack us, obviously, that's quite okay. I mean, that's what they exist for, that they also, responding to something that they saw in the news. Sometimes they're just asking us how we decided to publish the news story, and what have you. So it's all over the place, but I will say mostly it's about a topic that is happening. Random topics are still there. We're talking about, hiking. What's the best day to hike? We have gotten those kind of letters as well.
Great. Well, thank you. And then, so Elvia, just so we can understand how maybe we could get our letter to the editor printed, if you receive several on the same topic, like you were talking about statues right now, how do you choose the one that you're going to print out of all of them that you get?
Well, first, I don't see all of them. I really don't. And my colleagues do not see those either. So even the subject head, which essentially would be your headline, will be really important. Otherwise, no one is going to see it. So think about that as a headline, to catch someone's attention. Because if we don't even get to the actual letter, then that's it. I mean, it's not going to get seen by anyone. So someone is looking through it, kind of, shuffling the topics, and then they'll send us a bunch, and then we'll pick from there. But I think Frank mentioned earlier, which is really, really important, resources are diminishing all across newsrooms, so we're all doing a lot of work, so we don't have a lot of time. So if it doesn't catch my attention right away, or our editors, my colleagues, it's not going to go anywhere. It is, if and I think Frank also mentioned this, if you happen to know the editors that are in charge of that, or from the opinion pages, it really helps. You can send it to all of us. We have one email, which, by the way, is opinions at arizonarepublic.com, if you wanted to send it to me. So you're not sending that to me or anyone else. It's going to a bank, an email, a group email. So if you specifically want to pitch it to me, or to others, sometimes people send it to our main email, but also CCS as well.
Great, so that's good. Now this is for both you and Frank. And Frank, why don't we start with you? You mentioned a couple of strategies, so give us like your top 2 or 3 strategies about writing a letter to an editor that would likely be published. What are 2 or 3 tips you might give us?
And I know we kind of covered a bunch of these in this previous talk, but yeah, definitely you want to go ahead and be topical. It's like you want to go ahead and focus on issues. I just saw a story on, they just wrote about the Grand Canyon allowing mining up there, and then the long history of uranium mining and radioactivity and stuff like that. So that's if you have had a breaking news story, if you had media releases that have come out, and you can go ahead and be topical, be current. Yeah, definitely the editors are looking for those kind of stories. Just like right now, Black Lives Matter, it's really hot in the news. A lot of different information is out there. People are looking for a lot of different opinions. So you really have to be a kind of a media watcher and look at different media, newspaper, online, whatever. And if you have an issue that you're passionate about, it'll show through in your letter. But yeah, you definitely want to be topical. Don't talk about an issue that's, well, that was last year, that kind of thing.
Right, great. How about you, Elvia? What 2 or 3 strategies or tips can you give us?
Well, those are great, Frank. Besides being topical, I think you can use your emotions. Most importantly, use a fact to express your opinion. Obviously, letters to the editor is about expressing an opinion. So if you're going to make an accusation or an attack, make sure that you back it up as well. So specifically, if you're talking about technical issues, I will say write it and then cut it in half. Use your words wisely. Edit yourself, to the point where almost thinking that you're writing, 2 or 3 tweets, and it is okay to use emotion. Clearly most of them are driven by that, your own emotion, your own point of view, sadness, anger, whatever. I think that helps, but I would say begin with why you're writing. Essentially, if you can answer why you're writing that letter, might help. And then use active verbs as well. Do not use profanity at all, because that will kill it. I mean, immediately, I don't have time for that. If someone is writing a letter attacking me and saying Elvia Diaz is a lunatic and this is why, oh, okay. But if they start effing, right, me or the topic itself or whatever you sign the news, that will immediately kill it.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Those are great tips. And so let's get some questions from some of our participants. And if you would just put in the chat what your question is. And I know a couple of minutes ago you were asked to do that. So let's look and see what questions that the people might have.
Liz, can I add one thing?
Oh, sure, of course.
Listening to all this, it kind of letters to the editor almost reminds me of when I was hiring employees and going to job fairs and getting resumes. And I found that out. I wrote a quick letter to the editor sample, and it's like, number one, when you write something, make sure that you have somebody at home, somebody read it, because you want to go ahead and make sure your spelling, your grammar is right. You want to go ahead and make sure you go ahead and cover your bases there, because if you get a letter and an email that's misspelled and the information is just really off, chances are the opinion editor is not going to go ahead and look at it. That's kind of the same way when we got resumes for journalists and they couldn't spell the subject line. It's like, I don't think they're going to go high up on our pile of hirees and stuff.
Right, that's a great tip. So we have a question from Danny Donaldson from Flagstaff. Hi, Danny, glad you're on. Letters to the editor are matters of opinion. Does it help to include sources to back up your points, as Elvia mentioned? So Elvia, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. If a letter is going to require a lot of work, you know, meaning if I have to go, we have to go and look for that information on what have you, then that's, you know, chances are that we're not going to do it because of the resources that we're talking about. So yes, absolutely. And by that, to back it up, what I meant is when you're actually emailing the letter, you know, hyperlink the story. That really helps. That's easy with technology. You can do it. So absolutely, any accusations, anything like that, you have to back it up. You know, you are entitled, just like me. I'm entitled to my opinion, but I'm not entitled to the facts. So it's exactly the same thing that you must do as well.
Great, thank you. And Michael Lerner from New York writes, do newspaper editors keep track of how many LTEs they get per topic, like politicians' staff do?
I don't, but my colleagues do. My boss has a policy of not publishing the same person within a month, because sometimes we get, you know, the same people writing. So like, oh, okay. So no, he's keeping track of that. So yeah, chances are if you're really aggressive and you are always sending stuff, you can get, you know, once a month, but that's rare.
And Frank, how about from the kind of the community media perspective? Do you keep track of how many letters to the editor you get from the same person or on a topic?
Generally, no, because we don't have the staff support to go ahead and be able to do that and stuff. But generally, an editor will go ahead and see if they see the same person over and over again. They like to get different voices in there, if at all possible. So yeah, the same thing generally applies. I think that you can usually get a letter to the editor like once a month. But if you write a good letter to the editor and you're in a good graces of the opinion editor, then there's might be a possibility that you might be able to go ahead and do a guest opinion, which will allow you a little bit more room and stuff. But they want to make sure that you're, you know, kind of the letter to the editor, the small one, is kind of like your trial period. Let's see how good this person is, and if they are good enough, then maybe they can go ahead and move up to a guest opinion.
Got it. And both of you have said that incorporating a personal story or experience in the letter to the editor is a good thing. I mean, I heard about personalizing it, sharing emotion, and so can you just let me know if that's true? Because we really want to know that. Is incorporating a personal story okay?
Absolutely. I will say absolutely. But again, you have to keep it short. And when I write what I call quick hits, which would be kind of the same thing, but like writing a letter to the editor, I actually developed my own form. So I will not go over 200 words. So I'm typing like crazy, and then I edit, and then it doesn't fit. I mean, it's just some technical issues. So that forces you to really think what you want to say and what words you're going to choose. But that's after it's been written. So, you know, that's a trick that I use myself. So in print, we don't have a choice. You know, we only have a certain amount of space and that's it. You know, online is a little bit different. So I practice that a lot. You know, you can say the same thing in 200 words that you thought you needed 1,000.
Got it. Well, great. Well, our time is up with our Ask a Professional. And I know that Frank, you're going to stay on with us because we're going to practice writing a letter to the editor. And I know, Elvia, you are welcome to stay on with us if you would like, but I also know that you have a limited time frame. And so we want to thank both Elvia and Frank for sharing your expertise with us. And again, just amazing to see both of you and look forward to connecting with you again. And so HECHO thanks you so much.
Thank you.
Well, great. So now that we've heard from our experts, I'm going to turn it over to Bianca and Camila, and they're going to talk about the basic components of a letter to the editor.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, so before we put to use what we have learned, Camilla and I want to go quickly over the basic components and essentially just summing up what we just heard into 4 different things that we think are the most important. So with an LTE, you want to make sure that you capture your audience with a compelling intro sentence. You'll follow that with some short, concise, and factual points about your issue. LTEs are unique in that it is important to provide facts and focus to an issue, but it's also an opportunity to make this about your experiences and your opinions. So it's important to personalize the issue, bring attention to why this matters to you or your community, and lastly, end with a call to action. And even though we listed this out as like a 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing, don't get hung up on the order. And rather start with what you know you have. So for instance, I know that the idea of writing a compelling sentence could potentially get me hung up for hours. So it might work better for me to focus on my experience and my personal connection to the issue, which will hopefully lead the way for the compelling intro sentence. So find a way to construct your LTE in a way that is complementary to your writing process. So now Camilla is going to walk us through an example of an LTE and guide you through these basic components.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so I have 2 examples here for you, and this is the first one. And we talked a little bit about word count and making it short and concise. This one looks kind of long, but I want to tell you there's 160 words here. So it is within the count of most publications. So there's a lot of words here, and I kind of picked this one for that. It's also an LTE that was in the Santa Fe, New Mexican by one of our advisory board members, Kent Salazar. So I'm just going to go through the 4 basic points and then point out where I think I see these 4 points appear in this LTE that Kent wrote. So the first component that we mentioned was a compelling intro sentence. And I also included title because I think that this title here, Don't Fear Change, is pretty compelling. I really wanted to read what that was. It sounds like a song I've heard before, Don't Fear the Reaper or something like that. But anyway, it caught my attention, even though the first sentence is kind of like about the Bureau of Land Management. The second piece is the short, clear, factual points. And somewhere here, the last sentence of the first paragraph, industry groups had circulated information about how these new regulations would cost jobs, creating a lot of fear about the local economy. So this is kind of in response to what we're hearing and what we're seeing. It's short. There's some other facts here, but I thought that one was a good one. And then the third component, personalize the issue, we see right in here, someone needs to retrofit the new wells and bring them up to code, which will also reduce leakage and increase production, thereby increasing profits. I thought that this was personalized simply because if you're reading the whole thing, that he's talking about jobs and someone needs to have this job, and so it's relating personal to his community and the community members there. And then finally ending with a call to action. This is a call to action here to industry, but industry shouldn't fear a change from the status quo. These new regulations are good for people, good for the planet, and good for local economies. So that's Kent. And then we have another one here that's a little bit shorter. So I found this one. This is was a recent one from January. So this one's called "Clear Cutting Trees is Bad for Climate." So the first part, compelling intro sentence or title, they just kind of came out with it. It is appalling that the state is clear cutting pinon juniper trees on Glorieta Mesa to provide more forage for privately owned cattle. So I'm drawn in, I want to learn more, even though this is super short. And then the second piece is short, clear, factual points that comes in the next sentence. It has become accepted science in the past decade that the single most effective response to climate change is the planting of trees, and one of the major causes of climate change is the raising of cattle. Okay. And then the third piece, personalize the issue. Oh, okay. I'm looking for the personal part. No, I'm not seeing it. So, okay, that's not in there, but this is still, you know, I think a somewhat effective LTE. Well, let's look for the fourth component, which is end with a call to action. Okay, let's see, where is that? There it is. Okay, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, please see that this stops. That is a clear call to action. This person is writing to the governor of New Mexico and hoping that she is ready to do something about it. Now, this is a shorter LTE. This one has 97 words, which is, you know, that's incredible, under 100 words and published and easy. I don't know how long it took this person to write this, but hopefully not too long. All right, I think that is, oh, I have one more slide actually. So the next piece before we get started on our exciting segment of writing an LTE with Frank, just wanted to show you a little chart here. It's actually a big chart with some of the criteria from various news papers around the country. Well, actually this list just lists 4. We have a bigger list that we can send out to you. So one of the important things I think before you start writing an LTE is just to check what criteria that publication has going for it. And so here you'll see on the top, USA Today wants 200 words or less. So you have you know, those 2 LTEs that we saw, you can write a little more than that. And then their criteria, they're clear that if it's 200 words or fewer, you have the best chance of being published. Arizona Republic, 200 words. And I like what they put here, some of the criteria. They're saying passion is good, so is humor. So that one, you know, if you have a sense of humor or you have something funny to say, or if you're extremely passionate, they want to hear from you. Letter writers may have no more than 1 letter published per month. And Elvia let us know about that. The Salt Lake City Tribune, you can actually spend a little more time writing your LTE, 300 words or less. So they're going to let you write a little bit more, although they still are highlighting that concise letters developing one theme, a single theme, are more likely to be published. And then also for printed submissions, please type and double space throughout. So you want to pay attention to those details. And then for Albuquerque Journal, gosh, they're going to let you write 350 words. Wow, that's a lot. So, but preference is given to letters that are fresh, brief, clear, and that don't require factual verification. So that's helpful. So you know you should spend some time putting your sources and making it easy for them to read. All right, so that's kind of the last detail. I'll pass it back to Liz to lead us into the next segment.
Great, thanks Camilla. That's wonderful information to have. And now we're going to take a time to practice writing the letter to the editor by working with Frank. And we're going to hammer out, believe it or not, a letter to the editor in 10 minutes. So if you would right now share a topic that you're interested in, that we can write just as a group, a letter to the editor. So in the chat, would you please put down a topic or an issue that you would like to have us write a letter to the editor about? So we'll take about a minute to do that and see what topics come up.
Liz, you can see the Word document.
AOA, the Great American Outdoors Act, is one idea. And we can talk a little bit about what that is. I'm very knowledgeable about that. Opening parks and hiking trails is another topic. I imagine they're probably closed right now, and maybe that's what that is about, but we'll dive into that. Okay, let's get a couple of other ideas. And it can be on anything. Halting new oil and gas leases on public lands, uranium mining in the Grand Canyon, climate change. Okay, well, those are all great topics. So let's go over them again. The Great American Outdoors Act, that is something that is before the House of Representatives right now. It talks about funding for the Land Water Conservation Fund and also funding for deferred maintenance of our national parks within our park system. We have opening parks and hiking trails, halting new oil and gas leases on public lands, uranium mining in the Grand Canyon, and then climate change. So guess what? We're going to let Frank choose the topic since he's the one that's going to be leading us through this quick writing of a letter to the editor, so we can just see how quickly it can be done. And so, Frank, what do you think?
Oh, that's no fair. I was going to go ahead and suggest this. Of all of these, who is the person who feels like the most strongly about a particular issue? I think if you're coming from it from a point of passion, I think that's where you go ahead and go. My suggestion. And then you just write a quick headline. You write a beginning, middle, end, and then you go from there. And then that's kind of what I tell my beginning writers is like, a lot of them get writer's block. They see this big white space here. They don't know what to do. Just write quick, but it really helps if you're passionate. So of all of these, is there someone who's really passionate about any of these issues?
Write that in the chat. If you say, just say I'm super passionate, if you're passionate about one of the issues. And everyone can weigh in. So like other people who are on the Zoom, just why don't you just put down which one you would be passionate about or interested in of the 5 topics. Let's just do that, like a poll, but just chat in there which one you'd like to see us write a letter to the editor about.
Well, where's my passionate people?
Okay, there's a vote for Parks and Trails. So we have 2 for Parks and Trails. We'll give it about a couple more minutes. Okay, Great American Outdoors Act. Opening parks and hiking trails. Okay, well, it looks like opening parks and hiking trails is the topic for this evening. So here we go. Go ahead, Frank, take it over.
Great. Okay, now that we got the parks and hiking trails, let's go ahead and look at the issue. Right now, because of coronavirus, they went ahead and had to shut down a lot of the national parks and recreational areas. And I'm sure some of you saw some earlier videos, like they have hiking trails in Phoenix, and all of a sudden, like thousands of people were wandering around, not doing social distancing, and so there was all sorts of problems with that too. So I guess the question is, okay, how do we open these parks and hiking trails, but how do we do it safely? So who wants to go ahead and start writing about the topic on that?
I would like to add something.
Sure.
I'm not sure that it makes sense at the very beginning, but I can speak to how right now, more than ever, outdoor spaces mean a lot more to me because I cannot leave my house.
Great, good, 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 good.
And if you want to have your mic open, we'll put a spotlight on you. You can just physically like raise your hand and we'll call on you, or just say in the chat, just put in the chat, you know, I have something.
So what's preventing you now from going ahead and enjoying parks and trails right now? Is it government regulation? Are you wanting someone from the government to go ahead and ease those restrictions? Is there a concern about health and safety? So what's preventing you from really being locked up at home and going out there and enjoying nature?
And there's several people who are not on video, but that are on either the phone or their computer audio, and you're welcome to join in too. This is a group activity, so all you who are listening, feel free to chime in. This is going to be fun. Hopefully.
So can we spotlight Juliana? She has something to add. Okay, Juliana, go ahead. Your mic's open.
Okay, so Teresa and I were just talking about how if there's ways to lessen the restrictions on the popular trails, or even advertising the least popular trails to say those are available. Maybe having, I don't know, it's possible to have a park ranger or an ambassador or somebody to
monitor the trail.
To monitor how many people are coming in and out and saying, well, you know, it's least crowded here if you're interested in hiking.
And you were saying, Juliana, in the chat that the reason the trails are not open right now is because of social distancing, right? So directly related to the virus?
Currently, yes.
Okay.
I mean, almost like how ADOT has it, where if there's a traffic accident or delays or something, they share that information whenever there's something like that.
So as an editor, and this is kind of what happens with a lot of the letters to the editor, people will send their letters and then the editor will usually write the headline of the gist of what people are talking about. To me, it sounds like now is the time to open our trails and hiking and outdoor spaces. How? And then how can we do it safely? So that's kind of what I would envision as far as the headline for this. And that might be a good jumping off point that you can go ahead and say, we need to go ahead and do this. How can we do this? Who do we talk to? Let's get it done.
And Frank, can you see the chat? We have a comment from Y Murillo. Can you see the comment there?
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't addressed that one yet, but that's a comment from one of our attendees. And it says, for me, one of the greatest reasons I haven't taken our family out is because we can't trust others to follow guidelines for distancing face masks. What else? So we can open up your microphone if you'd like to add to this. Michael, okay, let's spotlight Michael.
I think in terms of maybe the facts, I mean, I don't have the specific data, but read a lot that outdoor transmission is really, really, really small and unlikely compared to any kind of indoor environments, especially when there's, you know, plenty of air and breeze and all that. So I think the actual danger is way lower outdoors, and to be almost, you know, non-existent. It's different when there are certain points, like let's say a bathroom where people are touching the same door handle or sink or something, but just on the trail and the sunshine and breeze, I think is very different than social distancing guidelines for office places, mass transit, etc.
Now, here's a suggestion. I'm not sure this would be useful, but would it be useful to go ahead and have somebody to organize hikes and that they kind of meet at a parking lot and give a lecture about social distancing and stuff rather than opening up the trails to everyone? And then that might go ahead and calm the fears that you can't trust other people, almost like doing a reservation for a hike or something, but having a small group of people doing hikes or something.
I want to add, Frank, that under actions, I think it was Juliana that had the idea of including a park ranger at the entrance of the trail, also helping to keep track of folks that were on the trail to minimize an overwhelming crowd. I think that's a great tie-in.
Good, good, good.
Are there others who want to contribute to this? Just write in the chat that you'd like to add something. And you don't have to write it, just say I want to add, and then we'll highlight you so you can turn on your mic. Okay, well then Frank, we're gonna have you now take a look at it and see what we might add or what we might do to make it coherent.
Okay, opening parks and hiking trails. Now is the time. Okay, so I'm looking at it as an editor who's just received this thing. Now is the time to open our parks and trails. How can we do this? I would still go ahead and do that. How can we do this safely? Because I think that you have to have that safety issue, because that's what makes it topical. Because you talk about the coronavirus. Of course, everyone wants to run out to wherever outdoor spaces, but you want to make sure that you hit that safely part. So now you got your compelling sentence. Right now, more than ever, outdoor spaces mean a lot. Cannot leave my home. Outdoor transmission is small. So you got some good facts backing that up. Cannot take my family. Actions. Are there ways to lessen the restrictions? A popular trail, advertise at least. Okay, so now this is kind of your ask at the bottom. Who are you addressing this to? Are you addressing this to park officials? Are you addressing this to your county officials who run the county parks? You know, who's the subject of your ask?
Would it be land management, or would it be the park ranger's office?
That could be Parks and Recreation, or whichever organization's in charge of it.
Because there's both, what is it, both federal and state parks and trails.
So yeah, depending on what it is, if it's state, federal, or even local parks and stuff, yeah, you need to go ahead and address that. But you could do like an overall kind of thing saying, whoever controls these jurisdictions, what can we do now to go ahead and get people out to nature and do it safely and allowing them to go ahead and enjoy what this beautiful state has to offer.
That's great. Well, we did this in about 12 minutes. So that's not bad at all. I think all of us can probably carve out about 12 minutes of our time to write a letter to the editor. And hopefully we can all see that it's not as intimidating as we may have thought to write a letter to the editor. So
can you get a rough word count on that? I'm not sure if you can do that by.
Yeah, I think we can. Bianca, I mean, we'll take out a few words because there's headings there like topic, title.
Yeah, and since we are gonna send this out to you all since we wrote it together, and it'll be in more of the correct format. But let me see.
The word count's 165.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, totally.
165. Good.
And then you take out about 8 words because there's 8 like headings. So boy, it's almost there. It's worth, so that'd be like 157 actual words.
And like I said, that's kind of what I recommend for our beginning writers and stuff. Don't worry about the blank screen. If you have something that you're really passionate about, throw a sample headline on there. It can be rewritten. Throw a sample beginning, middle, and end letter to the editor. It can be rewritten. And it's also best to go ahead and write it, rewrite it. Once you think you have it, walk away from the screen. Once you think you finalize it, definitely show somebody else. And if you get some different perspectives from folks, and they'll also say, oh, you did misspell that word right there, or you did misspell that. So those are some good things to go ahead and know before you submit it to an opinion editor.
Great, and now we're going to turn it over to Camilla. She's going to tell us, how do we submit the LTE?
Yes, so after we've had our 12-15 minutes writing it, we can go ahead and submit it. Here's a screenshot of what you'll see at the Arizona Republic. So they have the top section with all the criteria and kind of their letters policy. That's where we got that information that we showed you earlier. And then underneath that is the form. This is it. This is how simple it is. It's your name, your address, email, your phone, and then you copy and paste your letter in there. We always recommend that people obviously do it on a Word document or write it out on a piece of paper before you get it in there so you don't lose it. Yeah, so that's super easy, right? The hardest part is over. All right, I'll pass it to Bianca.
Awesome. So, all right, we learned, we practiced, and now it's time to turn that into action. So we hope that this session has empowered you and given you the information you need to use LTEs as an advocacy tool. So to put this into action, all you have to do is identify your issue. We're gonna capture the information from this session and send out kind of like a resource worksheet for you all to use. Including the one that we wrote together. And then you just got to write. So if you know your issue right now, we want to invite you to put that in the chat. But other than that, I'm going to pass it back to Liz, who's going to wrap up our session.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Bianca. Really appreciate it. That was super fun being able to write that together. And so before we do our checkout, I just want to wrap up by reminding you of ways to stay connected with HECHO. You can follow us at HECHO Online. You can look for our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram account. Please like us on those and follow us. You can visit us at our website at www.echoonline.org. You can join the Digital Advocacy Network on our website. You can look for that, and there's a quick form to fill out for you to be part of that network. You'll get also our monthly newsletters, and you'll get information on future events. So now that you've signed up for this workshop, we will stay in touch with you and send you all of that information. And as Bianca said, we're also going to send you some the letter to the editor and some other bits of information from the workshop to follow up. So let's do a checkout. And again, we're going to put a spotlight on you. So you'll see the frame that will kind of light up around you. And what I'd like to do for today's checkout is to tell us one issue or topic that you're passionate about that would cause you to write a letter to the editor. And it can be related to the outdoors or camping. It does not have to be. It's something that you are passionate about. So let's start with our checkout. And see, why don't we go to Amy first?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm very passionate about clean air and clean water. And so that's something that I'm excited to hopefully write an LTE about.
Super, thank you. So yeah, 1 or 2 words. Let's do a checkout. Juliana.
I think what we were writing about was opening parks and recreation and hiking trails.
Nice. Teresa?
Camping, just fire restrictions on camping at the moment that unfortunately we can't have. And camping is great when you have a nice campfire. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Danny.
I am feeling very strongly supportive of mask mandates. And this has been super helpful in helping me learn about how to use my voice in new spaces. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Danny. Michael.
Hi, everyone. I'm passionate about increasing protected wildlife crossings on busy roads. I think there's too many unnecessary accidents there for losing animals that could be easily protected. So I'm writing a letter to the editor about that.
Great, thank you. Our friend from Arizona Wildlife Federation.
Hi there. So yeah, currently right now, for me, it's a Great American Outdoors Act. It's being held up in the House by Representative Costner. And we don't want a watered down version of this potentially historical legislation to be passed. We want it passed in its complete form. And thank you for having me, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Bianca.
I'm gonna sum up my passion right now. I'm just gonna go with community, and I guess just community-based work.
Great. Camilla.
Hello. I just spotlighted myself. I'm really passionate about how we move forward as a community and as a country after COVID and with all that's happening in the world today. So trying to write something about that with that's inspiring and takes highlights the potential and the opportunity we have. And there's one other person on the phone, Rosetta Walker.
Rosetta, do you want to tell us what you're passionate about? And to unmute, is there a particular way to do that? Is it like a *6 or anything, or?
I'm trying to unmute Rosetta, but it's not working.
Okay, Rosetta. Well, we know you probably have something very passionate about, and we look forward to hearing from it at our next HECHO workshop. Anybody else? I'm not sure if we got Nikki.
I think Nikki, some people have dropped off already. So Nikki and Viviana are off. The only person who hasn't responded is well, there's two, Liz and Frank.
Okay, well, let's go to Frank. Frank, what are you super passionate about?
Unmute myself. Well, number one, being a journalist is kind of tricky because you're trying not to go ahead and have too many opinions. Of course, when I was a columnist, I had opinions all over the place. So it's kind of hard to get back into it. So this afternoon, I just quickly wrote something. If you don't mind, I'll put it in the chat. And that's kind of what I wrote about media release that I saw about uranium and radiation and stuff. So let me see if I can drop that in there. Oh, it's not gonna let me do that. Let me see.
If it's not, can you send it to me, Frank, and then we'll get it out with our materials to everybody from the workshop?
I think I sent it to you as a PDF, and so it's at the bottom of the PDF and stuff. So because I was kind of curious, like, okay, how fast can I write a logical letter to the editor, and what are the elements and stuff like that? And it did come back to me after a little bit, but no, it's just I'm passionate about, you know, helping the next generation of writers and journalists come up there and tell their stories. So I guess that's my main passion.
Great. Well, thank you all. And what I can share with you is that I'm passionate about elevating Latino, Hispanic voices, whether that be in community, whether that be about the outdoors, but just that our voices are heard, and passionate about community and us just being human to one another. And so with that, it's been a great hour, everyone. Really want to thank you for spending the hour with us. Thank you so much, Frank, for your expertise, and look for information from us for our next HECHO event. Stay safe out there, everyone. Be well, and thanks so much. You guys are great. Thank you very much.